He shoved the courtroom doors open and barked, "Court's for people with business, boy, not for you." The entire room went still. The man in the tailored navy blue suit stood silently, absorbing the humiliation like a thunderclap. But just 20 minutes later, the same bailiff, red in the face and sweating, was forced to stand at attention, as the very man he kicked out returned in a black robe, not as a witness, not as a defendant, but as the newly appointed judge. Welcome to Marshall County Courthouse, a weathered red brick building nestled in the heart of Somerville, Tennessee. It's a place where time seems to have slowed somewhere between the past and progress. In a county with deep southern roots and stubborn traditions, the courtroom has long been dominated by familiar faces, white faces. But on a humid Monday morning in June, a man walked through those courthouse doors with a calm demeanor and history written all over his shoulders. His name, Jordan Matthews, age 38, born and raised just 40 minutes away in Memphis. Jordan was the first in his family to graduate college, then law school, then clerk for the Tennessee Supreme Court. A clean-cut, soft-spoken man with a sharp legal mind and a reputation for integrity. But none of that mattered to Bailiff Robert Whitaker, a 63-year-old courthouse fixture known for his thick drawl, short temper, and deep-seated bitterness disguised as old-school values. June 3, 2024, 8:04 a.m. Jordan Matthews arrived at the courthouse early, dressed in a pressed suit, carrying nothing but a slim leather briefcase and a sense of pride. It was a historic day. After months of interviews, vetting, and political wrangling, he had been appointed by the state to replace retiring Judge Edwin Collier, who served nearly 30 years on the bench. Matthews wasn't just the youngest judge in the county's history. He was also the first black judge ever appointed to the bench in Marshall County. He stood outside courtroom 1, ready to observe a few minutes of a civil case before being sworn in. He wanted to understand the energy of the room he would soon command. But just as he pulled the door open, it slammed shut in his face. "Step back," barked a voice behind him. It was Whitaker, silver-haired, sunburned, with a holstered gun and a clipboard clenched in his hand. "Court's not open to the public right now. You people always nosin' around when you ain't supposed to." Jordan, composed, calmly said, "I'm here on official business." Whitaker narrowed his eyes, scanned Jordan from head to toe, and let out a small scoff. "You got ID? Or are you just looking to cause trouble?" Jordan reached into his pocket, produced a government-issued letterhead, and handed it over. The bailiff gave it a quick glance, muttered, "Probably fake," and physically escorted him out of the hallway. That humiliation should have never happened. But Whitaker had no idea who Jordan really was. By 8:25 a.m., word reached the chambers that the incoming judge had been removed from the premises by courthouse security. The presiding clerk, Debbie Connor, rushed out of her office and confronted Whitaker near the lobby. "Where is Judge Matthews?" she demanded. Whitaker blinked. "Who?" "The new judge," she hissed. "The one you just kicked out." Panic crept up the old man's neck like fire. For the first time in 2 decades of barking orders and pushing people around, he realized he'd made a mistake that couldn't be undone quietly. 2 deputies were dispatched to retrieve Jordan, who'd waited silently on the courthouse steps. He returned without anger, his face unreadable. The courtroom had filled by the time he walked back in, this time with an escort and applause. His robe draped over his arm, and his gaze locked straight ahead as if nothing had happened. Whitaker stood at the front of the courtroom, visibly trembling. In a bitter twist of irony, he had been selected to read the ceremonial oath, a duty traditionally reserved for the head bailiff. And so, in front of a packed courtroom, Robert Whitaker stood just feet from the man he had called boy, and was forced to utter the words. "Do you, Jordan Matthews, solemnly swear to administer justice without respect to persons?" It was supposed to be a celebration, but beneath the surface, tensions rippled. Judge Matthews, now seated on the bench, exuded quiet authority. He made no mention of the earlier incident. No snide remarks. No public reprimand. Just judicial grace. But people talked. Whispers flooded the courthouse that day and all week long. "Did you hear what the bailiff did? How's he still got his job? Why didn't the judge say something?" Some expected retaliation. Some wanted it. But Jordan wasn't playing that game. At least not publicly. Privately, sources say Judge Matthews filed a confidential memo to the administrative office of the courts outlining the incident. citing Whitaker's conduct as a direct challenge to judicial authority and a breach of ethical decorum. But the old guard in Marshall County? They rallied behind Whitaker. He'd been misunderstood, they claimed. He didn't know who the man was, they insisted. One local attorney even said, "It's not like he hurt the guy, just confused him for a loiterer." The conflict stirred an ugly undercurrent: race, power, and resistance to change. But Judge Matthews remained silent, until 2 weeks later, when Whitaker vanished. On June 17th, just after 5 p.m., Robert Whitaker was scheduled for a disciplinary hearing. He never showed. His house, empty. His truck, found abandoned at a gas station 3 towns over. And when deputies entered his home to investigate, they found something chilling on the kitchen table. A photo of Judge Matthews, with a single phrase scribbled across it in red ink. "This ain't over." Let us know where you are watching from in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on your notification bell so that you can be the first to enjoy our amazing stories. Want to know what really happened to Robert Whitaker? Was it just guilt, or something more sinister? And did Judge Matthews know more than he let on? Somerville wasn't the kind of town that liked mysteries. It liked routine, predictability, quiet. But the vanishing of a decades-long courthouse fixture lit a fire under everything folks thought they understood. By June 19th, Robert Whitaker had been missing for 48 hours. No calls, no credit card activity, no sightings. Just a rusty Ford F-150 left abandoned off Route 59, and a house that looked like someone walked out in the middle of dinner and never came back. The police issued a bolo. The sheriff gave a half-hearted press conference. And behind the scenes, a storm was building. Detective Monica James, a no-nonsense veteran of the Fayette County Sheriff's Office, took the lead. She knew the politics of the courthouse. She knew Whitaker's reputation. And more importantly, she knew when something didn't smell right. She started interviewing courthouse staff, clerks, deputies, even janitors. Most described Whitaker as old school. A few quietly admitted he had a mean streak, especially toward black defendants. But nobody expected him to just vanish. Then came the break. A local gas station owner turned over surveillance footage from the night Whitaker disappeared. On the grainy footage, time-stamped 9:42 p.m., Whitaker could be seen pulling into the lot, walking inside, and buying a pack of cigarettes. But as he exited the store, he didn't walk back to his truck. He walked toward a dark-colored SUV parked at the edge of the lot, and got in. Theories swirled like wildfire. Theory 1. Retaliation. Some believed Whitaker's disappearance was street justice. That someone, somewhere, decided he needed to pay for what he did to Judge Matthews. Theory 2. Faked disappearance. Others whispered that Whitaker faked his own vanishing, that he couldn't handle the shame or the fear of losing his pension, and simply ran off. But then came Theory 3, and that's where things got dark. A courthouse clerk named Angela Boyd claimed Whitaker had been growing paranoid in his final days. She remembered him saying things like, "They're watching me. He's not who he says he is. That judge, he's here to ruin me." Angela swore she saw Whitaker arguing with someone on the phone the day before he disappeared. She didn't hear everything, but she caught one phrase loud and clear: "I don't care who he works for, I'll expose him." By June 22nd, the media was circling. Local outlets hinted at tensions between the missing bailiff and the new judge. Social media did worse, blaming, accusing, fueling rumors with no proof. Judge Matthews refused to comment publicly. But inside chambers, sources said he was quietly unraveling. He stopped sleeping, stopped eating. His once calm demeanor gave way to restlessness and abrupt mood shifts. He began locking his chambers even during working hours. At one point, he reportedly told his clerk, "There are people in this courthouse who don't want me here. I can feel it." Then, something unexpected happened. Detective Monica James got a hit on Whitaker's phone. It pinged outside of Nashville, nearly 3 hours away, from a burner cell connected to a prepaid SIM card. She rushed to the location with a team. What they found wasn't Whitaker. It was a burned-out shed, hidden behind an abandoned trailer. Inside, charred debris, a melted cigarette pack, and an unburnt piece of cardboard tucked behind a loose wall panel. On it was another photograph, this time, a picture of Matthew's childhood home in Memphis. And across the bottom, the same chilling handwriting. He took my life, I'll take his. Suddenly, it wasn't just about a missing man. It was about a history, buried and ugly. Monica began digging deeper into Matthew's past. A sealed juvenile file, an expunged arrest, rumors about a confrontation in high school with a now-deceased police officer. Judge Matthews had built a spotless public record, but some in law enforcement believed he had powerful help climbing the ranks, possibly someone who covered for him. Maybe even someone Whitaker knew about. But why now? Why disappear? Was Whitaker silenced? Or was he on the run, trying to expose something no one wanted brought to light? Let us know where you are watching from in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe, like and turn on your notification bell so that you can be the first to enjoy our amazing stories. June 24th, 7:13 a.m. Judge Jordan Matthews stood in his private chambers, staring at a manila envelope that had been slipped under his door overnight. No name, no return address, just the words, "You can't bury the past forever." He opened it slowly. Inside was a single Polaroid. Faded. It showed a younger version of himself, no more than 17, standing over a figure on the ground, blood pooling beneath. The image was grainy, but the threat was clear. Attached to the photo was a cassette tape. He inserted it into the player on his desk. A voice crackled to life. "Judge Matthews, or should I say, Jordan, let's see how well you wear that robe when the world finds out what you really did." Then silence. Matthews sat frozen, hand trembling, eyes wide. A knock came at his chamber door. He didn't answer, because in that moment, he realized the real trial hadn't even started yet. "Jordan, you thought no one remembered, didn't you? But I do. I saw what you did, and I kept the proof." The voice on the tape was unmistakably Robert Whitaker's, raspy, southern, and laced with venom. They called it self-defense. But I know better, and I know why they buried it. You think that robe protects you now? That title? No. It just puts you in the spotlight, and I'm gonna burn it all down. As the tape clicked off, Judge Matthews sat frozen at his desk. He hadn't heard that voice in days. Most assumed Whitaker was dead, but now, the game had changed. The photo, the tape, the message, all of it pointed to a moment Matthews had spent his entire adult life trying to forget. He pulled out a small locked drawer from his desk and removed a worn black folder labeled Seal, 1999. He stared at it for a long time before flipping it open. Inside was a police report. Date: August 14, 1999. Location: Memphis, Tennessee. Incident: altercation between Jordan Matthews, age 17, and Officer Daniel Riggins, off-duty. Outcome: Officer Riggins pronounced dead. Matthews claimed self-defense. No charges filed. Case sealed. But there was something the report didn't include. Whitaker had been there. Back in 1999, Robert Whitaker wasn't just a bailiff. He worked moonlight security for a group of private contractors tied to the Memphis PD. That summer, he was riding with Officer Riggins, drinking, patrolling, intimidating kids in low-income neighborhoods, just to keep them scared, as he later told a friend. Jordan Matthews had been walking home from his summer job at the library. What happened next would change everything. Riggins stopped Jordan, demanded ID, called him a liar when he said he worked at the library, then shoved him. Words turned into violence. Witnesses would later say they saw Matthews on the ground, being kicked. What they didn't see, what only Whitaker saw, was Jordan reach for Riggins' baton in a desperate act of survival. One strike, then another. When it was over, Officer Riggins was dead. And Whitaker. He walked away, never filing a statement. He didn't want to be dragged into it, but he never forgot. Detective Monica James began to dig deeper. She found the sealed juvenile record. She found the old witness statements. And then she found something chilling, an internal memo from 1999, buried deep in the archives of the Memphis DA's office. The memo described a deal. A promising young black teen. A dead white cop with a history of misconduct. And a compromise to avoid a race war. Seal the file, destroy the evidence, and let the kid go. But it wasn't that simple. The file listed one unofficial witness who refused to cooperate. Whitaker. And now, 25 years later, he was threatening to bring it all back. Matthews knew he had two options: wait for the world to unravel around him, or confront it head-on. He called a press conference. The courthouse buzzed with speculation. Reporters packed the steps. The air felt electric. Matthews stood behind the podium, robe off, sleeves rolled. "I was 17 when I made a decision no child should have to make," he began. "I took a life. I never denied that. I never forgot it. And I've spent every day since trying to make something of that pain." It was raw, honest, vulnerable. But just as he was about to finish, a voice shouted from the back, "You didn't tell them the whole truth." Gasps erupted as a figure stepped forward, hooded, hand outstretched. Security tackled the man. In his grip was a USB drive. Inside chambers, the drive was inserted into a secure laptop. It contained one file. Video footage. Timestamp: August 14, 1999. Location: intersection of Briar and 7th Street, Memphis. The grainy footage showed a parking lot, a scuffle, and then a blow. It was Matthews. It was Riggins. But the footage revealed something else. Something not in any police report. Whitaker was there. And he didn't try to stop it. In fact, he smiled. He watched it happen, stepped back into the shadows, and left a 17-year-old to clean up the blood. Later that night, Matthews sat in his chambers alone. Rain tapped against the window like tiny fists of guilt. He stared at the screen on his desk, paused on the moment Whitaker walked away. He whispered to himself, "All these years, I thought I killed a monster, but I was part of the performance." Suddenly, his office phone rang. An unlisted number. He answered. A voice, clearly disguised, spoke softly. "You think this ends with Whitaker? He was just the first. We all saw it. We all stayed quiet. You coming back stirred the dust. And now the rest of us are watching you." Then a pause. "Be careful what you remember next." The line went dead. Matthews leaned forward, head in his hands. Outside, the courthouse lights flickered. He stood, walked to the file cabinet, and pulled out one last folder, thicker than the rest. On the front, in trembling ink, were 4 words. Witnesses. Missing. He opened it slowly. Inside, photos of 3 people. 2 already crossed out in red ink. 1 face remained. Detective Monica James. His hands shook. And on the back of her photo, scribbled in that same red ink, Jordan didn't hesitate. He grabbed his keys, the folder, and bolted from his chambers. The hallway of the courthouse stretched out in front of him like a tunnel into panic. His shoes echoed off the polished floor. Every second mattered. Monica James was more than a detective. She was the only person asking the right questions. And now, someone wanted her gone. He called her cell. No answer. Called again. Straight to voicemail. Then a text. "If you care about her, stop digging. Let the past stay buried. Final warning." No name. No number. Just a threat. The file labeled the 3 original witnesses from the 1999 case as follows. Robert Whitaker, missing. Desiree Pope, died in a house fire, 2007. Ruled accidental. Andre Rollins, overdose, 2011. No autopsy conducted. All had connections to the Memphis PD. All had reasons to keep their mouths shut. But the real shock came in the notes scribbled on the back of the file. Someone, perhaps Whitaker himself, had tracked Monica's connection to Desiree Polk. They were cousins, close, raised like sisters. And that meant Monica's involvement was no accident. Monica had spent the morning out of town following a lead on Whitaker's possible location. When Jordan finally tracked her down, she was pulling into the driveway of a lakeside rental outside Franklin, Tennessee. As he skidded in behind her, she stepped out of her car, confused. "What the hell are you doing here?" "There's no time," Jordan said, thrusting the file into her hands. "They're coming after you." She looked down at the crossed-out photos, then at her own. "I don't understand." Jordan's voice cracked. "You were on a list, Monica. The same list as the others. And the other two are already dead." Monica's face hardened. "Then we find out who made the list, and we end this." But just as she spoke, a bullet tore through the passenger side window of her SUV. Monica dropped to the ground, dragging Jordan behind a tree. The crack of a second shot echoed across the water. Someone was watching, waiting. Monica pulled her weapon and shouted, "Cover me!" Jordan ducked low as she sprinted toward the tree line, gun drawn. A figure darted between the shadows, dark hoodie, tactical boots. Another shot rang out, then silence. By the time the sheriff's department arrived, the shooter was long gone. But in the nearby brush, deputies found a torn piece of denim and a cell phone, wiped clean, except for one text saved in drafts. "He's protecting her now. Change of plans. Use the brother." Jordan and Monica reviewed the draft message over coffee in a nearby diner. The words hit Jordan hard. Use the brother. Only one person that could mean. Marcus Matthews. His younger brother. An ex-Marine. Quiet. Kept out of the spotlight. Jordan hadn't spoken to him in almost 3 years. Not since their mother's funeral. But if whoever was behind this had gotten to Marcus, then the game had escalated. Monica leaned forward. "Your past isn't just haunting you anymore, Jordan. It's coming after everyone around you, including me, and now your own family." Jordan's hands trembled as he reached for his phone. He dialed Marcus's number. No answer. Then, a voicemail. Choppy. Panicked. "Jordan, I think someone's following me. I didn't tell anyone, but damn man, I think I saw Whitaker. Alive. Near the old lake house. You remember that spot? We used to fish there. If something happens to me, don't trust the people closest to you. Not all of them are who they say they are." The message cut out. Jordan stared at Monica. "You hear that?" She nodded. "He's alive. And he's circling back." They drove through the night toward the old family lake house Jordan and Marcus visited as kids. Hidden in the woods. Secluded. Silent. But when they arrived, the air was thick with dread. The front door was wide open. The inside ransacked. Furniture overturned. Muddy boot prints led down the hallway to the basement. Jordan called out, "Marcus." Silence. Then a faint groan. They descended the stairs, flashlights trembling. At the bottom, lying in the corner, was Marcus, bruised, bloodied, barely conscious. Jordan dropped to his knees. "Marcus, what happened?" Through split lips, Marcus whispered, "It wasn't Whitaker. It was someone else. Someone you trusted." Jordan's heart sank. "Who?" Marcus tried to speak, but his eyes rolled back. He lost consciousness. Monica moved fast, calling emergency responders. But Jordan stood frozen, because next to Marcus, scratched into the concrete wall, were 5 chilling words. "Your father started all this." Later that night, while sitting in the back of the ambulance, Jordan opened an old metal lockbox he'd taken from a lake house. Inside were family photos, newspaper clippings, a police badge, his father's badge. And beneath it, folded and yellowed, a document he'd never seen before. A letter, handwritten, addressed to my son, in case the truth ever finds you. His fingers trembled as he began to unfold it. But just then, Monica's phone buzzed. She looked down and gasped. "Jordan, it's Whitaker. He just sent a video." She pressed play. On the screen, Whitaker sat in a dark room, staring into the camera. Judge Matthews, you were just a boy when you got pulled into all this. But your father, he was no innocent. He built this courthouse on lies, on deals, on blood. He leaned forward. You ready to know what he did to me? Buried truths. Family betrayal. As Judge Matthews unearths the sins of his father, he'll face the question that could shatter everything. Was justice ever real, or just a legacy of silence? I know you are enjoying the story, so don't forget to subscribe, like, and turn on your notification bell so that you can be the first to enjoy our amazing stories. A broken brother, a message from the past, and a video from Robert Whitaker that shattered everything Jordan Matthews thought he knew. Your father, he was no innocent. He built this courthouse on lies, on deals, on blood. Now, a sealed letter, hidden for decades, sits trembling in Jordan's hands. Inside, the truth waits, and it just might destroy him. The words were shaky, scrawled in fading ink, the kind a dying man writes when time is no longer on his side. Jordan, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry. I never wanted you to carry my mistakes. But the system I served, it demanded loyalty, and I gave it everything, including my soul. You remember Officer Riggins? You remember that night. But what you don't know is, it was never about you. It was about me. He was coming for me. You just got in the way. Jordan's throat tightened. His eyes blurred. He turned the page. Riggins wasn't just a cop. He was a cleaner. A fixer. He handled things for the circle. Judges, DAs, sheriffs who traded favors behind closed doors. He was going to expose us. And I couldn't let that happen. I told Whitaker to scare him off. Just a warning. But it spiraled. You showing up that night, that was never supposed to happen. I'm so sorry, son. Signed, Earl Matthews, Sr., Judge, Father, co-founder of the corruption he claimed to fight. Jordan sat in silence as Monica read the letter beside him. The circle, she whispered. Sounds like more than just old backroom politics. It was, Jordan said. It is. The letter included names. Men and women Jordan had grown up hearing about. Judge Ray Halston, Sheriff Billy Keene, DA Vernon Maddox, all long retired, or dead. But the network they built, still alive, still dangerous. And worse, Jordan was now tangled in their legacy. Monica's phone buzzed again. Another video. This time, no Whitaker. Just audio. Static-filled, eerie. A conversation. Man 1. You think the boy knows? Man 2. He knows enough. Man 1. Then finish it. Same as the others. Loose ends are what get you killed. Man 2. Understood. Then a name. Judge Matthews dies. It dies with him. Jordan froze. These weren't empty threats. This was a decision. A hit. Monica traced the audio through a forensic team. It came from a burner phone triangulated near Lincoln Park, just outside the old courthouse. Surveillance cameras caught a man entering a nearby bar, and the footage revealed something chilling. Assistant District Attorney Clay Maddox, grandson of Vernon Maddox, one of the original Circle members, and someone Jordan had trusted completely. Monica shook her head. He's part of it, isn't he? Jordan nodded. And he just marked me for death. Back at the courthouse, Jordan confronted Clay Maddox in his office. Door locked. Phones off. I know about your grandfather, Jordan said. I know about Riggins. About Whitaker. And I know you're trying to cover it all up. Clay didn't flinch. I've protected you, Jordan. You were never supposed to go this far. You mean survive? Clay stepped forward, eyes cold. You're a threat now. You dig too deep, and the whole system collapses. You want to save yourself? Walk away. Resign. Move on. Jordan leaned in. I don't run. Not anymore. Clay's voice turned venomous. Then you better start praying. That night, Marcus regained consciousness at the hospital. He asked to speak with Jordan. Alone. There's more, Marcus whispered. Back in Memphis. After Dad died, I found something in his lockbox. A tape. Riggins, Whitaker, and Dad, all talking. What were they saying? Jordan asked. They were planning something. A cleanup job. They said your name, too. Said if things went bad, you were the sacrifice. Jordan's blood ran cold. He had never been the hero of this story. He had been the insurance policy. The next morning, Jordan arrived at Monica's office. Her coffee still steamed on the desk. But her phone, her laptop, her gun, all gone. The last security footage showed her leaving the precinct, stepping into a black SUV with government plates. No one knew who sent it. No one saw her after. On her desk, Jordan found a single note. If I don't make it, look in the safe behind the photo. Behind a framed picture of the police academy class of '06, Jordan opened the hidden safe. Inside, 3 files, a flash drive, and a photo of Monica, standing next to a teenage Jordan decades ago. As Jordan sat alone in his chambers that evening, he played the flash drive on his laptop. It was Monica, a personal recording. Jordan, if you're watching this, I've been taken. Or worse. There are people in our justice system who'd rather see it burn than let the truth out. You were never supposed to be a judge. Not because you didn't earn it, but because they knew you'd start digging. They used you, then they turned on you. But they forgot one thing. She looked straight into the camera. You're your father's son. And even though he was flawed, he left you the one thing they never counted on, the entire map. She held up a second flash drive. One Jordan didn't have. One they must have taken with her. They want this so bad they'll kill me for it. But if I go down, you finish it. Tears welled in Jordan's eyes as the video ended. Suddenly, a ping. An anonymous text. Just 6 words. She's alive. You have 48 hours. Let us know where you are watching from in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe, like and turn on your notification bell so that you can be the first to enjoy our amazing stories. Monica's gone. Whitaker is alive. And Jordan Matthews now knows the most painful truth of all. He was never meant to be the hero. He was meant to be the cover-up. But the Circle made one fatal mistake. They underestimated a man who had already lost everything, except his purpose. The clock was ticking. 48 hours to save Monica. 48 hours to take down a legacy of corruption that had ruled Memphis for 3 decades. The message had been clear. Monica was alive. For now. And the exchange. They wanted the drive. The one Monica hid. The one they hadn't found. It was time to burn the whole damn thing down. Jordan stood at the edge of the Riverwalk near the Mississippi Bridge, the city skyline glowing behind him like a witness too scared to speak. Clay Maddox arrived first. Calm, collected, dressed like a man who still believed the system would protect him. Behind him, 2 armed men. And in the back seat of an unmarked SUV, Monica. Alive. Bruised, bound, but defiant. Her eyes met Jordan's. No fear. Just fire. Where's the drive? Clay asked. Jordan held up a small black flash. The truth, he said. All of it. He tossed it halfway between them. Clay signaled. One of his men walked forward with Monica, knife to her ribs. Jordan stepped forward too. The air cracked with tension. Gunfire. From the rooftops. From the shadows. Monica dropped. Jordan lunged. The man with the knife screamed. And chaos broke loose. In the aftermath, federal agents swarmed the scene. Monica had called in a contact at the DOJ weeks earlier, just in case. The moment Jordan handed over the drive, she'd already set the sting in motion. On that flash drive, audio recordings, bank records, signed confessions, proof that the Circle had orchestrated wrongful convictions, covered up murders, sold favors in backroom deals, and that they'd planned to kill both Monica and Jordan to keep it buried. Clay Maddox was arrested on the spot. His lawyers didn't even fight it. Too much blood in the water. The scandal made national news. Judge's family legacy tied to Memphis corruption ring. Hero detective and judge risked lives to expose hidden justice cartel. But the headlines didn't show the sleepless nights. Didn't show Monica staring out a hospital window, wondering what it had all been for. Didn't show Jordan weeping in his father's study, holding a photo of the man he once idolized, now knowing he'd been both protector and predator. Weeks later, the city held a public hearing. The courtroom was full. Reporters, survivors, families of the wrongly convicted, faces of those who had been silenced by the Circle for years. And at the front, Judge Jordan Matthews stood, not as a victim, not as a pawn, but as a man who finally understood the cost of silence. He took a deep breath and spoke. For years, we believed the law was a shield, but sometimes the law becomes the weapon. And when that happens, justice doesn't live in the courtroom. It lives in the people who dare to confront the system, even when it breaks them. I lost faith in everything. My family, my role, my truth. But one woman reminded me what justice really looks like. It's bloody. It's messy. It doesn't wear a robe. Sometimes it wears a badge. Sometimes it bleeds in a basement. But it never ever gives up. He paused. I was born into a lie, but I will die in the truth. The courtroom stood in silence. Then, applause, tears, and something rarer. Hope. That night, Jordan walked the steps of the courthouse one last time. The same steps his father walked. The same steps where a bailiff once shoved him out the door. He didn't feel rage anymore. He didn't even feel vindicated. He felt something deeper. Accountable. Because true justice isn't about punishment. It's about truth. Even when it hurts. Especially when it hurts. As Jordan looked up at the courthouse pillars, he spoke one final truth. This time, just for us. What they never tell you is that justice doesn't come from a courtroom. It comes from courage. It comes from pain. And it comes from people who refuse to be silenced, no matter how many times they get kicked out of the room. Remember this. Sometimes, the system won't save you. But if you stand tall long enough, you become the system. True justice starts with stories like this. Real, raw, unfiltered. Because if we don't tell them, who will? If this story moved you, share it, talk about it, and don't look away. There are more stories like Jordan's. And we're just getting started.